Welcome. Michigan Alliance for Families is pleased to offer you this webinar in our effort to support your desire to improve your effectiveness to advocate for your children receiving special education services and programs. Michigan Alliance for Families is a statewide organization serving Michigan families whose children receive special education programs and services, including those who may be eligible. We believe that an informed and educated parent can better partner with school personnel to get the best possible educational outcome for their child. We do this by providing a comprehensive website, sharing information on social media, and offering learning opportunities like this one for parents and those who support them. We also have a monthly e-newsletter that you can sign up for by going to our website. Michigan Alliance for Families' greatest asset is our regional parent mentors and our information and referral staff. You can reach the regional parent mentor covering your geographic area by calling our 800 number, and by the magic of technology, you will be routed directly to your parent mentor. Our work here at Michigan Alliance for Families is funded by grants from the U.S. Department of Education Office of Special Education and Rehabilitation Services, as well as the Michigan Department of Education Office of Special Education. All services we offer are available at no cost. Let's get started by answering the question, what is advocacy? Simply put, it means standing up for yourself or another. I want to offer you a way of thinking about advocacy skills. Parents are their child's first and best advocate, and we need to learn how to be as effective as possible. The skills I'm going to cover are ones that you can use across your life, with your aging parents, for yourself, and as your child ages and you begin to be involved in more systems like public education, vocational rehabilitation, community mental health, and the healthcare system. Let's get started by identifying those skills. I will be covering each of these individually. You will have an opportunity to hear information on each and then resources you can use to improve your skills. The first one, understanding your child's disability as it relates to the system you are advocating in. In education, how does the disability impact learning and everyday life in school? 2, know the key players, the decision makers. Who are they and who makes what decisions? Know your rights and responsibilities. In the education system, there are safeguards put in place to protect your rights. These are called your procedural safeguards. Number 4, being organized. There are plenty of books and websites that want to help us be organized, and we'll focus on some tips. Number 5, use clear and effective communication when talking in meetings and when writing. And number 6, know how to resolve disagreements. There are 5 tools available for resolving disagreements. Getting started, let's look at the first skill, understanding your child's disability. In this case, we are talking about understanding how your child's disability impacts their education. Key to this is learning to advocate for your child's needs, not a specific service. A child's needs are key to developing both an individualized family service plan, or IFSP, and an individualized education program, or IEP. Keeping the focus of the meeting on your child's needs can lead to more productive conversations. If your child's need is to be a better reader, focusing your conversation on the skills they need to learn can lead to more productive conversations than focusing exclusively on increasing the level of service. Now, this isn't to say that an increase in service is not necessary. However, conversations focusing exclusively on services can lead to a lot of no he doesn't, yes he does circular conversations. Our regional parent mentors work a lot with families to help them have better conversations focused on their child's needs. There is research that indicates a direct and positive relationship between parent expectations and post-school outcomes for youth with disabilities. First of all, if we don't have high expectations for our children, who will? High expectations is directly connected to the development of youth autonomy. This means giving children with disabilities opportunities, support, and encouragement to do things based on their interests, strengths, and preferences. Promoting youth autonomy allows children with disabilities the opportunity to learn skills they need to lead a self-determined life. We all create lives based on our strengths, our interests, and our preferences. There is a place to include these in the process of developing an IFSP or an IEP. This process can be very deficit-driven, focusing on what they cannot do and what they need to learn. There is a place in the discussion for what your child is good at. Learning examples, for example, do they learn better if they hear it? See it, touch it, involves movement. The IFSP and IEP process can consider assistive technology, AT, and positive behavior interventions and supports, PBIS, for children as appropriate. If you do not have a working knowledge of these two topics, you need to do some research and find out if your child would benefit from them. On Michigan Alliance for Families' website, you will find useful resources to help develop the knowledge to deepen your understanding of your child's disability and its impact on education. The Special Education Resource tab on our website is where you will find a list of topics. Scroll down to the D and you will find a link to the page Disability Specific Information. The present level of academic achievement and functional performance is the foundation of the IEP and where the team discusses a student's needs. Michigan Alliance for Families website has a web page and webinar dedicated to the present level of academic achievement and functional performance. The Individualized Family Service Plan, or IFSP, is the document used for families whose children are under the age of 3 years and receive services, and it is centered around the needs of the family and the child. Find out more about IFSPs on our website. Assistive technology. On our website, there is a dedicated page for assistive technology, including a webinar. Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports, or PBIS. You can find information about positive behavior interventions and supports on our website, including an introduction to PBIS and 3 COVID-related PBIS webinars titled Strategies for Supporting Your Child's Learning at Home. Moving on to the next skill, know the key players. There are decision makers involved in the development and implementation of a student's IEP. It is crucial to understand who, how, and when to discuss your concerns. At Michigan Alliance for Families, we always encourage parents to start with the person closest to the problem, who may very well be the one who can solve the problem the quickest. In general, this ladder represents a chain of command. It's important to know who these people are, how to contact them, and what problems they can help resolve. For example, sometimes a teacher and a case manager are the same person. If a student has more than one classroom teacher, then someone will be responsible for making sure the IEP is implemented as written. The catch here is that they may both be teachers or peers. The IEP case manager cannot make a teacher follow an IEP. This is primarily because there is not a supervisory relationship. As a peer, they can let the other teacher know what is in the IEP, and support them with implementation in the classroom. If there is a teacher who is not implementing the IEP, it may be time to bring in the building principal who does have supervisory relationship with the teacher. In some school districts, the special education supervisor is a district employee, and sometimes they are an intermediate school district employee who is working in one or more school districts. If you are having difficulty solving an issue with a special education supervisor, you need to address this concern to the person who has supervisory responsibility. This will be different depending on if they work for the school district or the intermediate school district. It will be helpful to have a consistent way of keeping track of contact information for key players. I encourage you to use what works for you. Create a spreadsheet, use a notes app or Google Keep. You can enter the information into your phone contacts and use that notes section to include additional information. But use what works for you. I've already covered decision makers and supervisors. However, there is one other thing you need to be aware of. Some therapists, occupational therapists, physical therapists, speech therapists, they may be contract therapists and are not employees of either the school district or the intermediate school district. That contract may not include parent education or attending meetings. If a contract therapist is working with your child, it is important to know who holds the contract. The intermediate school district, your local school district. Finding out the services the contract covers may provide you with helpful information. And finally, establishing a means of communication for both of you will be helpful prior to finding yourself in a position of disagreement. Early On is Michigan's early intervention system coordinating and providing services to families with infants and toddlers starting at birth and going until age 3. There are some differences with Early On when it comes to key players. Key players include the Early On coordinator. This is the person who oversees Early On throughout a geographic area, usually the boundaries of the intermediate school district, and in most cases they are an employee of the intermediate school district. Service coordinator. This is the person who works directly with the family to develop the Individualized Family Service Plan, or IFSP, and can also be a service provider. Service provider is the person providing a direct service to a family, to a child. This could be a speech therapist, occupational therapist, physical therapist, a nurse, a social worker, a teacher. Early childhood intervention services may be provided by different agencies or organizations. Your IFSP will list the services and who is providing them. It is crucial to know who is providing the services to your family, especially if you have concerns or services stop. Again, establishing the best means of communication for both of you will be helpful prior to finding yourself in a position of disagreement. Moving on to the next skill, knowing your rights and responsibilities. Your rights are contained within a document called the Procedural Safeguards. You should receive a copy of your procedural safeguards at least one time a year. Usually a pamphlet is handed to you before, during, or after your child's IEP or IFSP. School personnel should be able to explain your procedural safeguards. Procedural safeguards exist when a citizen is interacting with the government. The school system is connected to our government. The reason I bring this up is because it is important that you know that these protections exist not only in dealing with special education, but also with other adult services such as vocational rehabilitation and community mental health. These protections exist, but they may be called something different. For example, recipient rights. Some procedural safeguards to note: an independent educational evaluation. If you disagree with the school's evaluation, you can request an evaluation to be done by a non-school professional. In some cases, the district may have to pay for the evaluation. Prior written notice and parental consent. Schools must give you a written notice before many different actions, such as changing your child's identification, conducting evaluations, and changing educational placement. Some school actions, such as conducting an evaluation, require your consent. You are also able to withdraw the consent by doing so in writing. Access to educational records. Only certain individuals have access to your child's educational records. You, as a parent, may review your child's records. Resolving disagreements. Knowing how to resolve disagreements is skill number 6, and I will cover this one in more detail when we get to that last skill. Disability Rights Michigan, formerly known as Michigan Protection and Advocacy Services, or MPAS, has a very comprehensive Students with Disabilities and Advocates Guide document. You can find this on their website under Resources. 2 of the best advocacy tips I can give you are: 1, if someone says it's school policy or it's a state policy or rule, you can always ask for a copy of that policy or rule if you are questioning the accuracy of the information. This will allow everyone to have an accurate understanding of the policy or rule. And second, asking good questions and waiting for others to answer. Oftentimes, we ask questions as a means of opening a door to something we feel needs to be discussed. However, sometimes we don't wait for others to answer our question. We start right up with answering it. I will cover listening tips in skill number 5, clear and effective communication. Michigan Alliance for Families website provides information and webinars regarding your rights. Moving on to the next skill, being organized. If I had a magic wand and could give you all the organizational skills that you need, I would, but I don't. My single best advice is to use what works for you. Some people like binders, others like file folders, and some prefer to have everything stored electronically. Use what works for you. When it comes to paperwork, my experience is that there are 3 groups of documents. Group 1 are current documents, the ones you need to access quickly and often. Group 2 are documents that you may or may not need to get to often, but need to have access to. And Group 3 are years worth of documents that you may want to get rid of, but need to hang on to. I found that a system that stores each of these groups of documents differently works well for me. For Group 1, I use a binder, the documents I need to access quickly and often. I use dividers with pockets, and I keep that binder on a bookshelf near my desk. For Group 2, I use a portable file box for the documents I occasionally need. These are usually the ones that are 1 or 2 years old, and I keep the portable box in a nearby closet. In Group 3, the documents I can't get rid of? Thinking someday I might need them? I use a big plastic container that sits on a shelf in the basement full of old stuff. The key to this system working is moving the documents within the system. Once a year, usually in January, I clean out the binder and get the stuff ready for the portable file box. I remove the documents from the portable file box and put them into the big plastic container. As our children age, they may become involved with multiple adult service systems. I have found it easiest to keep everything together. Group 1 documents, the ones I need quick and frequently, go in the binder no matter which system, and each system has a divider. Group 2, the portable file box, has hanging folders. Each system gets a section. Group 3, the old documents I can't get rid of, all go into the same plastic container. This is what works for me. A logbook can be useful for documenting meeting notes, hallway or parking lot conversations, and phone calls. Again, I encourage you to use what works for you. I found it useful to have what I fondly refer to as the problem book. This is a spiral-bound notebook. It is my place for documenting all verbal conversations. While my son was in school, I found that I just kept the logbook from year to year until it was full. Now that I deal with multiple systems, I find it efficient to continue to keep one logbook, and it is in chronological order regardless of the system that is the problem. One of our staff shared that she is not a paper person. She types up her notes and emails them to herself. She saves the emails in a folder that she set up in her email account. I encourage you to go with your strengths when setting up a system that works for you. You need to have a plan for your electronic documents. If you are a paper person and need to print them, then use your documentation system, your document system. If you are saving them electronically, make sure you back up your system. One great idea I heard is to have an email address exclusively for use with school personnel. Text messages are another piece of communication you may want to hang on to for a while. You could screenshot them and save them in a photo album or on a photo album on your phone, or email them to yourself. You will be more effective in your advocacy if you are organized. Play to your strengths. You will find some great information on our website's parent advocacy page, including a link to information on organizing an IEP binder at understood.org. Next is skill number 5. Use clear and effective communication. Clear and effective communication allows you to be intentional in your advocacy. When we focus on our child's needs, we can have more effective meetings. At Michigan Alliance for Families, we distinguish between a child's need and a special education service. A child's need is not a service. Let me try and clarify that for you. A child's need is to be a better reader by developing their reading skills, such as their phonics skills. Asking questions like, what skills does he need to learn, focuses on your child's needs. When we advocate for service, we might be advocating for an increase in time with the reading teacher. An increase in service may or may not help the child be a better reader if the methodology for teaching isn't working. A child who has a below grade level in reading may need to understand the information in their textbook. When we advocate for a service, we might be advocating for an aid to read information to the child. This may or may not be the best solution, especially if the child can use an e-reader or e-textbook. These are considered assistive technology, and as I mentioned earlier, Michigan Alliance for Families website has information on assistive technology. If you find yourself in a circular conversation, yes he does, no he doesn't, pause and make sure that you are focused on your child's needs, not a specific service. There may be several solutions for the service, and by advocating for the need, you leave the door open for all solutions to be discussed. Write any questions down beforehand. This will help you get organized and helps you remember to ask all your questions. When going into an important meeting, one where a lot of information will be shared, where there is disagreement, or where you will be making important decisions, try not to go alone. Try to take somebody with you, a spouse, a partner, a good friend, your mom, your dad, a sister, a brother, and go over your concerns and questions before the meeting. Ask them to help take notes and to help you remember to ask your questions. Let's cover draft IEPs. You can ask ahead of time for a draft IEP, but there is no law or rule that requires the school district to provide it prior to the meeting. A good time frame is 10 days prior to the meeting. Ask for this when you are setting up the IEP meeting. Remember to ask how you will receive a copy: mail, email, or stopping by to pick it up. I would suggest sending a reminder email when you hit 10 days prior to the meeting. If you did not or cannot get it ahead of time, then ask for time during the meeting to read any information provided so that you can make informed decisions. If there's not enough time, then ask for a copy of the draft IEP at the meeting, and then ask for the meeting to be rescheduled after you have had time to read it. Listening can be your most effective advocacy skill. Listen to determine if the information is someone's opinion or based on data. Listen for understanding. Understand the perspective of the speaker, even if you disagree. Often we are busy forming our response and not really listening. You can understand and still disagree. Listening for understanding can help focus your advocacy efforts, revealing information you had not heard before and opening up the conversation for different ideas. If you want others to listen to you, then you need to listen without interrupting. Write notes so that you can go back to your concerns. When a discussion includes a statement about school policy or a rule or a law, make sure that you have or ask for a copy. Having the information on hand can ensure that everyone has accurate information. Clarifying questions can be used to eliminate confusion and misunderstanding. Clarifying questions are questions to check facts or statements. Simply start with, "I have a clarifying question." The purpose of restating information or paraphrasing is to summarize the main points of what the other person said to show your understanding, whether you agree or disagree. And in your notes, keep track of actions that need to happen outside the meeting. At the end of the meeting, take time to review the information and clarify who is responsible and in what time frame. There is a time and a place for putting information in writing. This would include making a request, asking clarifying questions, clarifying what you said or want to say, asking for decisions, and it is a great way to document verbal conversations like phone conversations or casual hallway or parking lot conversations. These are all great details to remember. My advice is to keep number 2, focus on 1 or 2 issues, and number 3, limit length be brief in mind when writing an email. If you are covering more than one issue, state that in the beginning. The purpose of this email is 1 and 2. If you have multiple concerns, then you need to prioritize, focus on your highest priorities, and keep it brief. If you have a lot of information to convey, then instead of long paragraphs, consider using bullet points to focus your information and concern. Michigan Alliance for Families website has a web page on documenting and writing letters, and it includes links to some great sample letters and other tips. For early on families, our website has a web page titled Effectively Communicate. It has some similar information and has additional information specifically for families with infants and toddlers. All right, we have made it to the last skill, skill number 6, know how to resolve disagreements. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act provides for 5 tools for resolving special education issues. These tools are covered in the procedural safeguards. They range from informal to formal processes. Let's take a look at each. The first tool is having informal meetings. This tool keeps the people closest to the problem solving the problem, and can be the fastest way to solve problems. If the conversation has been happening between you and the teacher or a therapist and you're not able to resolve the issue, it might be helpful to discuss it with the principal or special education director and have them join the conversation with the teacher or the therapist. The second tool has 2 possibilities. The first is reviewing and revising the Individualized Education Program, IEP, or the Individualized Family Service Plan, IFSP. This meeting's purpose is to review the existing document and determining if it is currently written to ensure success, to meet the student's needs. The second option is a facilitated IEP or IFSP meeting. This meeting's purpose is to review the existing document and determine if it is currently written to ensure success, to meet the student's needs. The difference is that a neutral third person facilitates the meeting. The facilitator can be provided through the special education mediation services. I will cover access to those services in a couple of slides. This tool keeps the people closest to the problem solving the problem. The facilitator can keep the discussion focused on the student's needs, address and diffuse conflict, and make sure that all voices at the table are heard. The goal of a facilitated meeting is to get a written IEP or IFSP. The facilitator is available at no cost. Both the parent and the school district must agree to use a facilitator. These 2 options keep the people closest to the problem solving the problem and can be done quickly. The third tool is mediation. This is a more formal process, but keeps those closest to the problem solving the problem. A mediator can be provided through the special education mediation services. They use trained mediators through your local dispute resolution centers. Mediation is voluntary and requires both parents and the school district to agree to enter into mediation. The outcome for mediation is a written agreement, if an agreement is reached. Mediation can help resolve disagreements about special education rules, regulations related to the development and implementation of a child's IEP or a family's IFSP. The written agreement addresses how that disagreement will be resolved. Typically, mediation can resolve issues within 30 days. These are the two formal processes. The fourth tool is a state complaint. A state complaint must be in writing. The Michigan Department of Education Office of Special Education does have a form that you can find on our website. It is not required that you use their form. However, using this form can help you get prepared, organized for the meeting. It will help you get your thoughts, concerns, and documentation ready. Our regional parent mentors cannot write a complaint for you, but they can support you through the process of writing and submitting the complaint. The written complaint is submitted to the Michigan Department of Education Office of Special Education. When filing a state complaint, you are alleging that the school district has violated state or federal special education rules or regulations. Therefore, their determination will be whether the district was in compliance or not in compliance. The final decision must be issued within 60 days. If they are in non-compliance, then the district will write a corrective action plan to resolve the compliance issue. The corrective action plan is submitted to the Michigan Department of Education Office of Special Education, and the school district must provide documentation that the corrective action plan was completed. The fifth tool is due process complaint hearing. The written complaint is filed with the Michigan Department of Education Office of Special Education, and they refer it to the Michigan Administrative Hearing System. The Michigan Administrative Hearing System will appoint an administrative law judge, often referred to as an ALJ. A resolution meeting is required unless parent and the school district agree to waive it. The administrative law judge will conduct a hearing similar to a court hearing. Witnesses will testify under oath and can be cross-examined. The parties present exhibits and documents and make opening and closing statements. The school district will be represented by a lawyer. Parents should consider at least paying to consult with a lawyer to get an opinion on the merits of the complaint prior to or right after filing a due process complaint. You can also reach out to Disability Rights Michigan, formerly known as Michigan Protection and Advocacy Services, and ask for advice on a due process complaint. Due process complaints and hearings address issues related to identification, eligibility, evaluation, placement, free and appropriate public education, and manifestation determination review decisions. The administrative law judge issues a written decision and an order. You may or may not agree with the ALJ's decision, and the school district may or may not agree with the ALJ's decision. Know that the Michigan Department of Education Office of Special Education will enforce it. With a regular due process meeting, with a regular due process hearing, the decision and order is issued 45 calendar days following the resolution session. The more formal the process, the further you get away from the people closest to the problem solving it. The more formal the process, the longer the time frame for the resolution to be implemented. Each of these tools has a place for resolving disagreement. Make sure you are using the one that serves your child to get the best resolution. You can find more detailed information on Michigan Alliance for Families website. We have a dispute resolution webpage as well as webinars. Our regional parent mentors are available to help you determine how best to use these 5 tools to resolve disagreements. Disability Rights Michigan can be reached at their 800 number and can offer guidance on these tools. Special Education Mediation Services has a website you can go to learn more about the services of a facilitated IFSP or IEP, as well as mediation. You can also call their toll-free number and talk to them about the option of facilitation or mediation. So there are the 6 skills for improving the effectiveness of your advocacy. I hope that you found this webinar useful, and I wish you all the best as you move forward to be the first and best advocate your child will ever have. We appreciate you attending today and want to remind you that you can stay connected with us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You can reach out to your regional parent mentor by calling the 800 number. And of course, check out the resources I mentioned that are on our website.